Also, very good. All right. So, are there any questions? Please, if you have questions, please type it in. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and just cover a couple of questions that were brought up from last time, and then I'll go ahead and talk about some of the features, some of our new features, and then we have a couple of people here that are new. And so at the end, I think what we're going to do is just do some um, basic training on the program, but that's just going to be towards the end. I want to show you some of the new features in DriveWare. We've been working on several new features. One of them is, of course, last week we covered the the feature for sending out the trip offers to the customers. We will go over that again today. So show you how that works. But one thing that we just added this in the past few days was the customer feedback option here. So notice that you have the option to send the trip offers to the drivers, and now you have the option of sending a customer feedback email um, to a customer and then have them respond. So for example, if you're highlighting a trip and you're on the dispatch grid, you can just simply click this option here and it'll just send the feedback page. And so you'll notice that if I go into my, let me bring up the page here. There'll be an option here for them to be able to respond. And then let me delete this one really quick. This is still work in progress, but anyway, I think you'll get the picture. Basically, you can set up the different emails, like um, so. For example, a customer feedback might be, um, "Dear customer, thank you for your business. We need your feedback. How was your experience with this trip?" And then you can put the tag here as far as the pickup date, and then they can respond whether they were happy with it or okay, or they were dissatisfied. So what this will do, it will update the information in DriveWare on the trip detail, and there will be a customer feedback tab where it will record the customer's feedback from that email into that trip. So we will have a grid here that basically they can respond, and they can respond as far as the drivers, and also the overall trip experience. So we'll record the responses from the customers in with the trip detail information. Okay, so that's what's coming next, and so you'll see there'll be a new option on your grid here for sending the customer feedback page. And it was working earlier. I was sending out. There it is. Yeah. So you notice that it sent the email to the customer, and the customer, when they click on this link, basically it's a link back to your DriveWare. So what it's doing is basically updating the survey page in DriveWare based on the customer's response. So also you notice that it is putting in the date of the trip, and then we'll also display the driver, and then also they'll be able to give you response based on the overall trip experience, or also about their driver, whether they were happy with the driver or there was any problem. Of course, they can also type in their notes and any kind of comments that they may have about the trip. So I'm going to mute everyone here. I'm sorry. I had to mute everybody because there was some background noise. But I think you kind of get the idea. We're just trying to now find out from you as far as what type of information would you like to track as far as the survey that you send out. I mean, of course, this is the simplest form in terms of just an overall feedback from the customer about the trip. But of course, we're not going to be like recreating SurveyMonkey here to replace SurveyMonkey, because obviously there's so many different things that you can um, get feedback on. I mean, we've been getting responses from some of our users, like Wobbs in Canada. I know Nando has been telling me that, well, they use this one, they use this SurveyMonkey for the various different types of surveys as far as their school trips, and then but this is more in terms of the overall experience. And I think the one that um, I liked was this one. So again, I'm trying to get some ideas from you guys as to um, which type of response would you like, you would like to have. If you notice, this one here is more like just basically how was your overall experience with us? Would you recommend us? How was the quality of service? How was your experience with the driver? So we're trying to narrow it down as far as what type of information you want to capture and save with the trip detail. Again, so what's nice about this is that it will save the information from the email into the customer feedback page, and then so you can always go back and run reports based on different types of reports, or run a report based on a driver and see how a driver is performing. So, and it'll be all referenced back to the trip detail. That's the nice thing about the customer feedback. Again, it's really a simple, just and we can make it in an automated procedure so that you can so that the system automatically sends it as an email. But right now, it's just another button here that you send to a specific customer to get the feedback. Okay. We have some people just joining us. CDC from Canada just joined us. They're looking at our system basically, and you can see that here. I was showing, earlier, just before you joined us, the customer feedback, where you can send the customer feedback page as an email, HTML email, and then the customer can respond with whether they're happy with the trip, they're dissatisfied, or it was just okay. And so that's the customer feedback page. And then we have the, of course, you can send trip information to drivers. And so, for example, if you have a bunch of trips here, and let's just say we have these trips that we need to assign drivers to for the next day or two. So you can simply assign a driver, but sometimes you need to find out if the driver is available. So this is something this is new that we've added, is you can send the trip offers to one or several customers. So let's go use the online one, the online version of our software. So I'm going to log into the cloud account here to show you those. Okay, so just 1 minute, I'm going to log in to show you the email notification service here. So here, for example, we have several different orders here, and you notice that this one doesn't have a driver assigned. So what I can do is I can go ahead and send the trip offer to one or many drivers. So I'm going to send it to Anthony, and I'm going to also see if Herbert is available that day. So I'm sending it to 2 people. And so now, if you notice that there is a trip offer that was sent to Herbert, and Herbert says, "Okay, I accept." So now, if you notice back in my page here, you'll notice that it automatically assigned Herbert to the trip and added the driver confirmed as the dispatch status. So this is nice if you have specific type of trips and you need to find out those senior drivers that are available, if they want to see if they're available, and be able to have them confirmed and maybe even reconfirmed. So you might want to send it once a few days before the trip, and then again have them confirm, reconfirm it. So inside the email, you notice that we have also the option for en route. So here, if you notice that we have en route, and when the driver clicks that option on his phone, it automatically changes it here to en route. So now we know the driver is en route, and it has an automatic option for sending a reminder to the client's email, so that notifies them if when the driver is en route. Okay. You notice that this is our production release. We don't have the option for the survey here. We have only the option for email. As I said, we're working on that. This is my local version, and you notice that now we have the customer feedback. So it's getting there. Probably by next week we'll have a beta version of it. And again, we like your comments as far as what type of information you would like to get from the customer about the trip. I'm sure the driver experience is important, and overall trip experience. I'm sure you want them to be able to type in their own notes and anything that they want to comment about the trip. So, but again, your request is it's yours program, and we want to hear from you as far as what kind of information you want us to track for you. Okay, so that's these are the new things that we've been working on. Let's go back to our slide here. So the customer trip feedback is what we're putting some focus in the past few days. Of course, we are working on more reporting functions. We just added a new audit log feature, which I think once it's completely implemented, you will like it better. It has better information about every change to the trip, so we know who changed the trip, which driver was assigned, and then who changed it to another driver at what time and what date, what time. And I can show you that really quickly here. That's coming along really well. Just a second. I'm going to pause this here really quick. All right. I'm going to pause the screen really quick. Just find that for you. Okay, let's go to this one here. Okay, any questions while I load this? No questions? Okay. All right, so let me show you my screen again. So under the system log, audit logs, now you will be able to see the drivers, and if somebody changes the driver. The old audit log that we had was difficult to see if somebody changed the driver. What was the driver? Who was the driver that was assigned, and then who changed it, and what time, and which driver? Because it was using numbers instead of the names. So the new audit log, you'll be able to see the driver information, and who's changing, and then you can also find by specific order number, all the changes to that order number, who changed the date, who changed the time, and so it's a much more powerful audit log. It's a lot bit, and it's also very easy to read. It's easier to read. Like this is driver 1, and somebody changed it from Rodney and to the Erica is asking, how do we get to the logs? Yes, you can go to system, audit, and then logs. You'll see it under audit, under system audit. You should have that already. In fact, Erica, I think you guys have that version with the new log. Okay. Okay. Let's see if there's any other question. Oh, we have some. Wow, we have some questions here. Okay. Yes. Steve Cottle, Steve in Transportation, is asking, is this an automatic or manual? I'm sure he's referring to when he's asking this question about, is this an automatic or manually generated? Um, he's referring to the customer feedback page survey. No, right now it's not automatic. It's a manually generated, and we're just trying to figure it out. Like in terms of, do we need to send it for each driver, or should we send it to just per order? These are the kind of things that we like your feedback on. Should it be sent for every trip, every leg of the trip, or should it just be sent as an overall one email for the entire trip? Um, so it's not an automatic; it's manually generated. Um, yes, multiple choice. Yeah, that's something that we like to also implement to be able to give you some options for you know, yes, Steve says that that was the question in regards to the feedback. Steve also comments it's the best system on the market, very through constantly being updated, and driver is always available to help. I didn't pay him to say that. Thank you. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. Okay. Um, can several drivers be sent the invitation at the same time? Yes, absolutely. That was the whole purpose of basically doing the trip offer, so that if you haven't assigned anybody yet to the trip, you could say, I want to send it to this driver and this driver. And one of the things that our customers are saying is that it would be nice if you could um, give us like grouping capabilities. So like for example, you might want to pick certain drivers and tag him and then mark him as maybe school or mark him as senior. And so then what you could do is say, send it to the school type, you know, um, group. So you don't have to do it one at a time. You could just pick the group and it'll send it. Okay. And then or have one for like tours, so you could group certain drivers that are good are doing a certain type of tours. You put them in a tour category, and then the system will loop through those and send them for you. But currently the way it works, you pick him and then you just select and it'll send it to that. So once the first driver gets it and accepts it, you notice that the second driver, if the second driver tries to confirm it, is going to get a message that the trip is no longer available. Okay, good. Yes, Erica asks this question. So if two drivers are offered a trip, driver A accepts. What happens when the driver tries to accept? Yes, the answer is driver B will see a message that the trip is no longer available. And we'll be also doing in the next release, we'll be doing one more thing, and that is we're going to definitely log every uh, response, even if it's going to be decline, we'll log it so that that, for example, Anthony accepted the trip and then Herbert went and tried to accept it, but Herbert got the you know trip no longer available message, and we'll log it, and so you can go back and look at that trip, and then if Anthony's not available, I can go back to Herbert and say, look, trip is available now. Do you want it? Um, yeah, so that answers Erica's questions about the multiple drivers. Yes, no. Right now, currently, you have to do one drive at a time, because Steve is asking if you could do like a control like select or control shift select. No, not right now. It's not something that is available right now. You can just simply select the driver and send it. We will be, like I said, improving it so that you could group or just do tagging. So, for example, you could do something like we do with our regular trips here. We have tagging features under orders where you could tag, certain drivers. So you'll be able to tag and then send, and then also be able to group them together as one group and send. But in the meantime, I mean, this is new, and we're trying to just work out all the little details about it and get ideas from you. And some of our customers basically use it just for trip offers. Really, they're not using it for the other functionalities. Like basically, if you look at um, the settings, so of course you have options for all the tags as far as what type of information you want to send to the driver. You notice that you can modify the message. This is actually one of our customers that basically says that, are you available? And it's just it just basically uses to see if the driver is available. Okay. And so with the tags, you can customize this the way you want. So if you don't like to say yard, you can just say start, and edit it in the HTML editor. So this is our new HTML editor. So you can go in there and customize the outgoing emails and the email templates. You could kind of personalize the emails that are going out to your drivers and also to your customers. And if you're going to do a farm out, you could even include the amount that you're going to be paying for the trip, so that there's no question. And then we have tags for the stops. So you notice that in each trip, excuse me, we have now the stops tab where you can put in the stop. This is also fairly new, where you can put in multiple stops and then be able to move things up and down and so forth. So you can actually improve the way you communicate with your customers when you send out contracts. Okay, so let's see if there's any other questions. Okay, no questions. So let's go and talk about some of the other things that we've been working on. One of the we had a problem when you applied a payment, because when you apply a payment in our system, there's a feature where we want to show that the invoice is fully paid. And when you pay the invoice, you notice that it says it's not fully paid. And one of the problems was that when you cloned you added another bus later, like say you send them the invoice and you process the payment, and then maybe just the day before the trip they said, oh, they wanted another bus. So what happens with that is that obviously we need to change this paid to unpaid. And so now you notice that basically now it will automatically change this to unpaid, and it does in fact unmark that invoice as paid. So just one of those things that it could happen. You could process a payment and mark the invoice as fully paid, but then later on, real world type situation where you may have to add another bus, or maybe even add additional charges. So then that's when you need to unmark it as fully paid and put that back into the receivable. So that's that has been corrected. So it's all working. We had that one situation, so that's resolved. The other thing, some of the other things that we've been working on is as far as communication with your customers and sending out contracts. Okay. I have a question here. Let me see. I think CDC. Can you see my message? Yes, yes. Yes, I can see your message. We have someone that's looking at DriveWare, and I think they're new, so they may have some questions. Uh, so go ahead, yeah, go ahead and type in your question. I can see your message that you put in. If you have any questions, I can even unmute you if you need to talk with your microphone. Okay. So one of the things that we've added is the ability to be able to use different templates when you send out contracts. So you could customize your templates and even put the templates according to your logged in users. And so this way you can even have customized signature and be able to personalize the email that you're sending out. So you don't have to type the same thing over and over. Um, so that's in the HTML editor here. That's new also. And let's see, what else do we have that I could show you in the terms of new features. Let me go back to my yes. One of the things that we've been talking about as far as uh, code tracking and follow-up. One of the issues that we've had, and we've been told that people call and they get a quote and then they forget to confirm. So we added a feature probably about 6 months ago for one of our clients in Northern California, where the solution that they were looking for was sending out a reminder 72 hours before the trip. So this service is available. So if any of you are interested in enabling that feature, we can enable it for you so that it sends an automatic email to the customer reminding them that the quote is about to expire. So it's going to expire in 72 hours. But as I'm talking to more and more of our customers, we are realizing that that might not be the perfect solution. You might want to basically use a different method in terms of reminders. And I think it's probably from the day that the quote is entered, we want to maybe on a daily or every 24 hours or 48 hours remind the customer that the quote still uh, you know in the quote status. We need to follow up, and of course your salespeople can follow up. There are a couple of different ways that they can see the trips. One of them obviously is to look at the put in a date range and then say, show me all the quotes. So then your salespeople can follow up and be able to convert those quotes into real orders and confirm them. That's one way for yourself internally to do that, but we want to make it so that it's automated, so that the system sends reminders, because we have our automated service that's running for reminding the drivers and the customers. Now we can do the same thing for the quotes, so that they're reminded that they have a quote and it hasn't been confirmed. So we want to probably use a different method and maybe go by the date that it's been entered, and then also, of course we need to look at the date of the service and then determine whether that automated email should be sent out. Again, these are some of the things that we need to get your feedback on, of what you think is going to work better for you in terms of reminding these customers about the quotes that are expiring. We have a couple of questions that are coming in from CDC. Does every driver have to have an email account? No. There is no reason for them to have an email account, because you can print your trip sheets, and they can pick up their trip sheets or trip tickets from the yard. You can even send messages or last minute changes to the drivers using their cell phone, mobile phone. But if they come to your office, if they come to the yard every day to pick up their trip sheets, you can just continue to just do it the way that you're doing it. we are just going to, we were just showing you a new feature that you could send trip offers to certain drivers that have email, but you don't have to. You could just run your trip sheets, print them by date range, and have them ready when they come in to pick it up. And we have several different templates to choose from, and these trip tickets can be customized by the end user as well. Some of our users are savvy enough to go in there and change the layout on their own, But if you want us to do it for you, we can do that as well. Okay. Does our drivers need a tablet in the bus? No. Again, no. There's no need for a tablet in the bus. The um, there are some nice features in our web portal that would probably encourage them to have a tablet, or maybe at home if they want to access from their own computer, they can log in, for example, and see their trip information. Let me show you how that works really quick. So for example, a driver could log in, put in the password for driver. So the driver can log in and see his schedule, for a given day, month. So here's a driver schedule for the month of January. He has a bunch of trips here. So it shows the trips that they have been assigned. This is just their own trips. So if they have access to a tablet, or if of their phone, or if they're at home, they can log in. And so you could put a link on your website that basically says driver login, and they go to your website, they can click that button and they can log in and see their schedule. They can even see the trips in detail. Okay, but they don't have to have any of this. You could still print your trip tickets like you've been doing, and give them the paperwork. That's some nice features if you like to implement immediately or later. So the CDC is saying that basically they have a new team that's coming in and they want to get some like a demo of our product. So we can do that either at the end of this session, or we could do it at a later time, and be able to do it maybe on a private session. But anyway, I'll towards the end of this session, I will go through like a regular order entry and show you how the orders are entered and how you dispatch, and then how you um, send the confirmation. Right now, I'm just going basically to focus on the new features that we're working on, or get feedback from our existing customer. This session is a weekly session that we basically answer questions. These are mostly our existing customers that have questions about the system, and they're already using the product and they're familiar with it, that they're coming with their questions. And we do have our sales webinars that are also sometimes weekly, but then sometimes bi-weekly. There's one tomorrow that we encourage you to join that webinar tomorrow. That's more of a sales webinar that basically we do on a sometimes bi-weekly. Most of the time it's bi-weekly. Sometimes it's once a month. So we do that for anybody who's evaluating our product. You got the invite, I think, for just looking at like the new features, and it's definitely beneficial for you. But I think you would be getting more information tomorrow, and it's at 11 a.m. tomorrow. So Anthony can send you the information for joining that webinar. But towards the end of this session, I will cover the order entry. Okay. Going back to our PowerPoint, basically, one of the other things that we've been working with in terms of the questions or requests or new features is counting the bus. Okay, so um, initially they may give you a number of buses that they need, and then later on they want to add a bus or remove a bus. So what our log is going to do now is going to show you all the activities. Like you could see that initially they requested um, so many buses, and then they um, so and so change, some this user changed the buses to 3, and then somebody else added one more bus, and then somebody removed the bus. Because one of the other things that we've been told is that sometimes the customer orders initially maybe 3 buses, but then they may add a bus or they may remove a bus, and then the bus count is something that we're putting some of our resources on, as far as being able to give you a history of all the changes in terms of the number of buses, so that if the customer says, well, you know, I didn't order this many buses, or I ordered one more bus, you could see exactly on one screen every activity in terms of the bus count. So it's an inventory of what they ordered, if they changed, what did they change it to, and then who changed it in the system. So that's something that's going to be added quickly here, because we have the logs, obviously. You can look at the logs, but we want to make this even simpler for you. Okay. As far as code tracking, again, we're trying to put more emphasis on code tracking. So, and follow up reminders, notes. Of course, you have all the notes about the trip information now. We're just trying to make it even better, more CRM functionality, basically. Okay, going back. Okay, so I'm sure most of you are familiar with our web portal, and you know that drivers can log in if they need to look at their trip information. They can also request time offs. So a driver can go in here and say, "Oh, I want to take my vacation in March 10th through March 17th, and I want a 1 week vacation." So they can request it. Obviously, they can request it online, but you have to approve it. So somebody inputs that, you immediately get an email notifying you that somebody is requesting time off. This driver is requesting time off, Anthony. Okay, and it will appear in his record as. Sorry, I'm jumping back and forth here. Um, so Anthony you'll see that trip request, the time off request here in his record. Okay, so you can see that, and they can approve it, and that also will show up if you're trying to assign a driver. It will tell you that the driver has a time off for that period. The question is, um, okay, uh, driver has to have his own login. Yes, drivers have to have their own login. You decide um, basically which drivers need access, and you can decide on their login name. And so you as an administrator can log in and decide who gets to see their information. And you can do the same thing for your customers. So customers can log in. Not all of your customers, only the ones that you give them access. And they can log in with the login name that you give them, and they can access it. So let me show you how the admin part of this works. So when you log in as an administrator, you can decide on the users. So you can go and say, for example, Anthony is a driver, and this is the record for Anthony, and when he logs in, this is the password. Now you can give them the option to change their own password. So you don't have to even know their password. It doesn't matter because when they log in, they'll only see their own transactions. Okay. And the same thing for the, customers. So you could have, for example, um, in this case, customer login name is assigned to this customer 71. And so when they log in, they get to see um, their their own trips. These are optional modules. Again, this is an optional module, and it's something that you can add on to your um, DriveWare so that it becomes your web portal, and your customers and drivers can access and get the information they need. Now, of course, you don't have to use it just for that. You could even have a reservation page here where the customers, you could link this to your website where the customers can go to your website and be able to enter their own reservations, or they could request a code from you. This is a separate module, and it's only available if you're on the cloud account. You have a cloud account and you're on a cloud service. So it is an add-on module to if you're on the um, on the cloud service. Excuse me. All right. Steve had that question. All right, let's see here. Any other questions here? Anyway, so this is the kind of thing that we will be doing each week, and again, we need your feedback on this as far as additional features. Is the picture customizable logo? Yes, this picture that you see here is something you can upload yourself. So if you log in as an admin, you could go to System, Page Header, and you could upload your own logo. And then this could be you could make this look like your own website, basically. Use your own images and upload your own images, and so make it look similar to your own website. Yes. Don had that question. Okay. Yes, I think we have answered most of the questions here, and we've shown you some of the new features, especially the one for the customer feedback. So please let me know what you think. What do you want me to do as far as the details of the information that you want to get back? What's important to you? Let me know as far as the kind of information you want to get back from your customers. Should it be based on each driver, or should it be based on the entire trip, just one per trip, or should it be one per driver? I don't know. I'm just trying to find out what would benefit you. Do you need to keep track of every individual driver and their service to your customers, or is it just is it sufficient just to have as feedback for one entire trip? That's really where I'm at right now. I'm trying to determine what information I need to, ask. What questions do I need to ask, and what kind of information do I need to capture for you when the trip is completed? Okay, and then so now I will have to end the session, and then we have a couple of clients that are looking at DriveWare for the first time. So they also joined the session, but I don't think that they really will. That we were talking about more advanced topics, that they were just basically just trying to figure out how to enter their orders, and I don't think that most of you here in this group are interested in that. They're already doing all of that. So I'm gonna have a session with them later on, either today or tomorrow, to cover the basic features. 'Cause we're out of time. But are there any other questions? Steve says thank you, Steve, thank you, Don, thank you guys for attending, and again, please give us your feedback. Tell us what you need, and that's what we should be working on. Anyway, I think that's all we have for today. If you have any other questions, just let me know, and I'll work on your request. And we'll meet again next week, same time, Wednesdays. Thank you.